For the past decade, comedian Bobcat Goldthwait has dwelled in the underbelly of independent cinema, writing and directing such critically acclaimed dark comedies such as Sleeping Dogs Lie and World's Greatest Dad, shaking the tree of pop culture in order to entertain as well as give a new, if awkward, glimpse at ourselves. We sat down with Bobcat Goldthwait and the star of the film, Joel Murray, to chat about God Bless America, pop culture, and what it means to make a violent movie about kindness.
We want to discuss our new album.
What?
Our new album.
Oh, okay.
We will not talk about God Bless America.
We're redoing some songs from the Shuffling Crew, a remake. Well, it's just the Super Bowl Shuffle. But
we're doing a song by the Bobcat Boys, and it's and then the Clancy Brothers. So it's Irish hip hop.
Huh. You guys gonna play the bitter end?
We're hoping.
Are you pushing on us? Luckily, Bobcat and Joel are not really following in the footsteps of Scarlett Johansson and Paris Hilton, and opened up about their film, God Bless America.
We're lying to you, Patrick.
Hey, these days, you never know.
We refuse to talk about our movie.
You've talked about it too much?
just drinking gin at this point.
No, it's not that we've talked about it too much. I've got to watch it a lot lately at the screenings and the publicity, and I'm just going, it's not very good. No, that's not.
And it,
we will talk about the movie. It's called God Bless America, and I'd like to say it's a violent satire. I don't say that. I say it's a violent movie
about
kindness, about
kind.
kindness. A violent movie about kindness.
What I really want to know is, first off, is how did you dream out this idea for this movie?
I think the original idea came from. I wrote it around the time where people kept interrupting people during the town hall meetings, where everyone was just shouting over each other, and then we had a senator shout down the president and call him a liar on the House floor. And I'm not a George Bush fan, but if someone had done that to him, I would have been just as upset. It just seemed like these floodgates of just everybody just really not even making any sense and using proper channels to show disgust. It was just people just being nuts. And
what happened to Robert's Rules of Order?
Well,
where's the civility?
Well, or even just I remember seeing this Tea Party, and it's kind of a popular a sign that, because I've seen, I shouldn't say popular, but I've seen it more than once, a sign that says, "We came unarmed this time." And I was thinking, oh, that's just crazy, So this whole movie's like, well, I see you're crazy and I raise you're crazy. Like, if you want to be nuts, I'll show you real nuts.
Mm-hmm. So it wasn't that you flipped on the television screen and said, wow.
No,
really?
I mean, some of it is like that, because I was in London and they were having my Super Sweet 16 marathon for a whole day. And it really made me sad that people over in other countries were thinking that's what Americans were like, And I wanted to make sure that, or I didn't want to make sure. It's nice finding other people that are just as depressed or fed up with where we're going. But with all that said, this is just the theme I want to explore. I'm actually not walking around bitter, or I really don't have a problem with reality stars, because I choose not to really follow them. I do have a huge problem with people who talk about them, be it even on just like be it on a personal level, or be it in the press. I just it doesn't interest me, and I find it really annoying. Just because there's no reason that I should have known Kim Kardashian got married or got divorced. I just, I can't
avoid it.
You can't avoid it.
I personally have a problem with the reality stars being an actor, because I just think that's the industry getting cheap, and it's cheaper to make this product with people who aren't actors, who aren't in the union, and writers who aren't writers, they're producers, and we don't have to pay their union dues or their health care or any of that, their pension, and I have a hard time with that. I think it's cost cutting for what? So you can watch somebody else's life? Mm-hmm. How dull is your life that you have to watch other people,
And also, it's kind of funny. It's like the acting's so bad, it must be real.
Yeah. No.
I think that was the greatest thing that came across the movie, is that it was so, at least with your character, that was so against the idea of being famous just for being famous.
Yeah, the idea when Frank says, that the people on the American Idol type show have no talent, they just have the ability to stand in line with a stadium full of other confused individuals. That comes from, like people's obsession with these singers that they get exposed to through a television show. It seems so strange that they get like personally connected with people that aren't, I mean, maybe now, or I don't follow the show, maybe they do have people that are actually songwriters.
And they create the whole backstory for each of them, and their sick grandmother, and this is the dream that I'd be a singer, and this and that. They create this whole thing around them, as compared to go down to your corner bar and there's a band that plays in the corner, and you know what? They're really good, and that guy can sing. He can hit notes and stuff, and people aren't doing that. Instead, they're sitting home and watching this thing, which is more of a game show than reality television. So I'm not against game shows per se.
Well, I'm against the cruelty on these shows where people aren't really, a majority of the idea of those shows is that they're hoping to watch someone flame out. They're hoping to watch someone who's not all there act silly or foolish, so they can laugh at them under the guise of, well, he's having fun. It really is the kind of distractions that go on when a mighty empire is collapsing. Again, I'm quoting Frank, but
cut it out.
See, the interesting thing I thought was, like, now that you said this, maybe I'm wrong, but Frank seemed to almost have a conflict in the middle of the movie, whereas Roxy definitely had a conflict because she wanted to see herself on TV. But then we have Frank that starts having the dreams that it seems almost as if he thinks he's looking at himself and saying, uh-oh, maybe I'm doing this for the wrong reasons. Was that something that you put in there? Or?
I put the idea when Frank starts having his dream of fame and stuff was, it was to remind that maybe Frank was doing this for the wrong reason, but I also like the idea that maybe Frank is starting to believe his own hype. Like at the beginning of the movie, he says, I know it's not normal to want to kill, but I also know I'm no longer normal. Then as we get into the movie, he actually starts becoming amoral and possibly believes that maybe he is doing good and making the world a better place, and then he gets a little freaked out when he realizes that he's starting to go down that path. That's what that dream's about. And then later on, he just actually is flawed because he's a human being, and these insane or stringent ways that he wants everyone to live is impossible, and that we all, that we are human.
So, with that idea, that final scene where he's being live telecast on the American Superstars, where were you going with that? Was it more like a say, all right, here I am, this is what I did, or was he still towing that line of fame? Or did he not even think about the
Well, I think like at that point he actually thinks he's going to come in and rescue this guy that's being ridiculed, and then he kind of realizes that everybody's corrupt, including himself. So I mean that's what
Stephen
the
Clark,
movie's about.
yeah. And, he's also found out that he doesn't have the brain tumor, and and now this guy is a sellout, and wow. And boy, I messed up that little girl's life too. It's only one way out at this point.
Yeah.
I ain't walking out that door.
Of course, no interview would be complete without asking about the Bobcat persona that the comedian created for movies such as One Crazy Summer and the Police Academy franchise. What happened to the stage personality that we all know from One Crazy Summer and Police Academy? Because I'm an 80s child, so that's what I grew up with.
Well, I mean, all those products are still out there.
Oh, I know.
But I don't really. I don't have a problem with the persona that I did, but as a guy who's going to be 50 in a few weeks, to continue to promote that would be really false and also not what I'm interested in doing. But it doesn't bother me when people know me from those movies and stuff. What bothers me is they tend to want to tell me how tall they were when they saw the movies. They go, oh, my brother and I, we used to watch it. It's like, oh, that's a big help. I'm glad to know how tall you are. It's going to really make it easier when I'm rubbing out one in the hotel thinking about you watching this as a little boy. No, I never know what to say when they say that.
But that was an option. What to say?
It's definitely an option.
How did you link up with Joel for this movie?
Well, we met on One Crazy Summer, and I said, in 20 years, I'm going to write a movie where you're a spree killer. Can you wait?
And I said, I'll wait. I'll have a mediocre career with occasional, flourishes here and there until you do it for me. And
I'll be 4th or 5th on a call sheet until you call Bobcat. So,
deep on 13th.
So, when I had back surgery, I was laid up. It was really bad back surgery. I was laid up for a long time.
I knew he was going to be down for a while, so I brought him the first 3 seasons of Mad Men because he hadn't gotten into it. And I run into a lot of people who said, yeah, I had really bad strep throat last year or whatever. But I caught up on Mad Men, so I thought, well, I'll get these to Bob. And he and his wife were watching them, and his bride suggested me.
Yeah, she's actually a fan of Joel's, and was like, oh, we should have Joel play Frank. And it wasn't like, I don't know if he can do it. I was like, it was a real eureka moment. I was like, oh, yeah, he would be amazing. And so that's how that happened. I mean, and then I sent him the script, but I think probably because I was high on pain medication, I didn't bother telling him which role.
Yeah, I just said, give this a read, see what you think. And I thought, I'd been the milkman in Shakes the Clown, so I was, maybe that guy in the office is my part, he's thinking about. But then he said, no, Frank.
Did you think you were the boss or the guy in the office?
I don't know, I couldn't find the milkman. So
I guess you couldn't be Roxy.
I thought about Roxy. I thought that would have been a different way to go.
I could have done it.
You're an actor. That's what you do. You act. Right. You put him in a Pippi Longstocking wig and hang out of a car firing a weapon.
I don't look good in drag. Kirstie Alley had a really bad day. It's not good.
Yeah, Tara Lynn Barr also seemed like a perfect casting. How did that come about?
She actually came in and auditioned, so she's not. Most of the cast are always my friends and people I know, but.
Fortunately, you don't know a bunch of 17-year-old girls.
Yeah, that's probably better. Yeah, so so she came in and auditioned, and I think it was because of all of her energy and her wholesomeness, which actually makes the role to me funny and weird. Like if she was like a goth kid or like a young Lolita, it would have been obvious and weird. But to have somebody who's so perky, there's a movie called Sterile Cuckoo with Liza Minnelli, and I kind of thought about that when I was writing this role.
And she was really wonderful to work with, and just such a contrast to what I was playing, a guy that's so far down in the dumps, and she just hits the screen with such energy. It was really fun, and knew when to be quiet as compared to a lot of 17-year-old girls, and was a sponge for information and learning, and it was just a pleasure all around.
And what about that neglected cult film Shakes the Clown, which seemed to miss out on this current age of irony? Shakes the Clown. Considering God Bless America is such a violent satire,
right?
Do you think it was ahead of its time?
Was Shakes the Clown ahead of its time? Sometimes people say that, but I also, sometimes it gets compared a lot to Bad Santa, but I don't know what Shakes the Clown is. I mean, even now when I watch it, I'm like, what the fuck were we thinking? It's a pretty nutty movie. Mm-hmm. But some places that have been playing God Bless America play Shakes the Clown immediately after, which is really...
So that the Tribeca Theater.
Tribeca, and then Philadelphia was the same thing, and they probably are companion pieces in a weird way, because neither of them take place in a real world, but they're treated as if it is a very real world.
There's a lot of real moments in them, but it's not a real world.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of peanut butter pussy.
You think you would remake it?
No, if I was gonna, it would be a prequel, like an angry teen movie with Binky the Clown and Shakes. That's how they, with the origin story is what it would be, you know, with where you actually see Shakes' dad die in that elephant mishap that they allude to.
I want to see that.